Hi, welcome to Barb's Kitchen Center. My name is Celeste and this is my test kitchen. Today we're going to make a Persian pistachio rose love cake. We have a staff member whose birthday is tomorrow, so this sounded like the perfect cake for her. So let's start by greasing an 8-inch springform pan. I'm using the cake pan spray, which is an oil and a flour, as opposed to just an oil-based pan spray. So the recipe calls for it to be sprayed, then lined with parchment paper. So I've cut a parchment round. You can get parchment rounds in 8-inch round. However, 8-inch pans are never quite 8 inches, and I don't like it when the parchment paper crawls up the side and then will often ruffle the top. So I have cut it to just about fit in the bottom of the pan. And then I need to line the sides as well. And again, by spraying the pan, it makes the parchment paper stick to the sides. And I'm going to spray it again because doesn't quite make it all the way around. And I want my parchment paper to stay stuck and not cause wrinkles in my pan. There we go. Give it one more spray so it doesn't. And now we can set this aside until we're ready to put the cake in it. All right, this is also a vegan cake, so I'm going to be using vegan ingredients. So if you have somebody who is vegetarian or vegan in your life, this might be a great cake for them. So the first order of business is to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. Oh, it's going to make it screaming hot in here today. Oh, my first order of business is to clean out the oven. So while I'm doing that, Tony will take a little break. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we have melted our vegan butter, or in this case, coconut oil. Coconut oil is a 1-to-1 replacement for vegan butter. It may change the texture ever so slightly, but because this recipe calls for ingredients like xanthin gum, which is usually a replacement or a bonding agent for something that would be missing out of a vegan recipe, I'm going to use the coconut oil instead of replacing it with butter. And then the sugar goes in, and we need to mix this until the sugar dissolves. There we go. Now, if I put on the bowl scraper attachment, I wouldn't have to do this, but again, because the bowl scraper attachment wasn't an attachment when I bought my Bosch, I frequently forget about it. Well, the sugar is largely incorporated, so the next ingredients we add are the 3 tablespoons of rose water, so half the rose water the recipe calls for, vanilla bean paste, lemon extract, a lemon zest, and then we stir all of that till it's completely combined. So rose water is something I'm usually pretty careful with, and 3 tablespoons does seem a lot to me, but first time I'm trying the recipe, so we will do what the recipe tells us. Again, Persian and Middle Eastern cultures, rose water is a very, very common flavor and is really quite lovely in things like ice creams and with pistachios. It just is really a nice complementary flavor. However, I do find it can be a little overpowering, but with all the other big flavors in this recipe, I will assume they know what they're talking about, and I will put in the 3 tablespoons of rose water. Again, you can adjust it to your personal taste. So vanilla bean paste, 1 teaspoon. Here's my vanilla bean paste. If some is good, a little bit more is better. So, you know, I will counterbalance the vanilla with a little extra vanilla bean paste. And somebody should probably take the, oh, we'll fix that later. All right, vanilla bean paste, the zest of 1 lemon, and I got my handy dandy zester here. I've washed the lemon, and I will just zest it straight into the bowl. And you only want the yellow. You don't really want to get any of the white pith. That tends to be very bitter. And actually, while I'm doing that, since I'm nowhere near the mixing, I will turn this on and get it mixing. A teaspoon of lemon extract as well. Okay, in a separate bowl, I am to mix the soy milk. Again, I am using the replacement cashew milk because that's what I have in the kitchen, and the vinegar, and stir it together. Okay, 1/3 of a cup of, in this case, macadamia nut milk. Love the angled measuring cups because then I don't have to get down, I can just look straight into it. And a tablespoon of white vinegar. There we go. The lid on the white vinegar before it winds up all over the place. That would not be good. And my handy dandy little whisk. All right, now this gets added to the melted butter and sugar mixture. All right, next we mix the flours together. So I'm just actually going to dry out this. There we go. So we need the all-purpose flour, 1 1/3 cups. So 1. And I will get my sifter because it's nicer if you sift your flour so that you get rid of all of the lumps and anything else that might be in there. Yay, our oven's ready. And I just need a 1/3 cup measure. Really? Okay. had kids cooking classes last week, and some of my measuring cups have gotten mixed into the kids stuff. So that was a 1/4 cup that was heaping, because a 1/3 is just slightly bigger than a 1/4. And you may laugh thinking that you know fractions. I don't need to tell you that, but it is not always so evident to everybody. There we go. The flour is super sifted. I need a 1/2 teaspoon of the xanthin gum, which I brought out right here. And I will need baking soda, or baking powder, sorry, baking powder. Always do that. Xanthin gum. Baking powder is 1½ teaspoons, so 1/2, 1 and 1/2. And I do need the baking soda as well. I only need 1/2 teaspoon of that. And then I will need a 1/2 cup of almond flour. So we will do 2 1/4 cups. Oh, come on. Get this lump out of here. You don't want lumpy. 1 and 2. And then I will mix that together. I get rid of those lumps. We store the almond flour in the freezer because it's so, almonds, once they're turned into flour, are quite oily, so you don't want that oil to go rancid on you. So if you can store it in the fridge, or fridge if you're going to use it quickly, freezer if you're going to take a while to get it used up. So we have together in our bowl the flour, so the baking powder, the baking soda, the xanthin gum, oh, cardamom, I need my cardamom. So again, another super lovely flavor, one of my favorites. Yep, there we go. And just a little bit more for good measure, because I like it. We'll see how everybody else feels about it. All right, so mix this all up. It's nice to mix it before you put it in, so that the baking soda and the baking powder don't wind up sort of in one corner of your cake and you get it rising funny in one spot and not anywhere else. All right. Now, it does request that you pour the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. Let's give that a go. So I've made a well in the middle of my dry ingredients. I will take these out, and I will, with my spatula, pour in. Let me move this so you can see. You can see how the xanthin gum has started to thicken this mixture up a little bit, so it is a little not as liquidy as, say, milk or other ingredients. So it's more a little closer to creamed butter with eggs in it kind of mixture. All right. Now I will stir this. And you want to just combine it. You don't want to beat the tar out of it. You just want to make sure all of the ingredients are wet and combined. All right. There we go. Everything is wet and moist, and we can now pop it into our prepared pan. Oh, got a few dry ingredients on the bottom yet. One last mix. There we go. It's going to be very thick and quite dense, the batter, and that's okay because this is one of those cakes that we will then take lemon juice and the remaining rose water, and we will soak the cake, sort of like we did with the tres leche cake, except it's not with milk, it's with rose water and lemon juice. So don't panic that it seems kind of dense. And get all the battery goodness out of here. All right. Take off my spatula. There we go. Now I'll just try to wear less of the cake than I get in the pan and even it out around the cake pan. And I think it's ready to go in the oven. So in the oven for 35 minutes and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. All right, while the cake's in the oven, we're going to get the glaze ready for the top of the cake. So to start with, I'm going to take the onion, sorry, you would never take the onion and put it on your cake. I'm going to take the lemon that I took the zest off of and just, squeeze it a little bit, because if you roll it a little bit and love it a little bit, it makes it easier to juice. So I'm going to juice it first because I don't want the seeds in my glaze and I'm not sure how seedy this is going to be. You could use one of the squeeze juicers if you want. I personally prefer reamers just because I feel like I get more juice out of them. But then because I use a reamer, I have to go pick all the seeds out. So it's kind of a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other kind of scenario. If you're lucky enough to find one of those old school reamers, you could actually ream your lemon out and get rid of the seeds all at the same time. And from time to time I do have vendors that sell them, but they go really quickly. All right, there we go. I think we got most of the juice out of that side. Now this side, ooh, that's where all the seeds are. Go. I'll get a spoon and pick those seeds out. A fork, and then I can leave all the juice in there. 2, 3. Super seedy lemon today. And one more, yay. Okay, so then it's the remaining tablespoon of rose water. That is not a tablespoon measure. I must have put that in the dishwasher already, so I will grab another one. Oh, this one will do. And then 1 cup of powdered sugar. Ooh, I can smell the rose water. So, and you just want to get that all mixed up and dissolved. And the nice thing about doing it this early is by the time you go to use it, because the cake has to be cooled completely before you pour this on, all of that sugar will be hydrated and mixed into the lemon juice and rose water, so you won't have any of those lumps. Again, I'll get a small whisk, which will make it a lot easier than a fork. Now I can just cover it and set it aside until we're ready to pour it over the cake and decorate. All right, I set the timer for my cake for 25 minutes because I always like to check it 10 minutes before it's due to come out. At about the 30-minute mark, it was ready to come out. It's a nice golden brown. I will leave it set in the pan for 15 minutes before I snap it open and put it on a cake rack to cool. Last but not least, finally, the cake is cooled and we're ready to decorate. Because I'm going to be decorating with rose petals, and because this is a glass plate and a slippery cake, I put some rose petals underneath the cake so it won't slide around. So I'm just going to poke some holes in to make sure the syrup gets right through to the bottom of the cake. Any metal skewer will do, or any bamboo, metal, any skewer will do. Toothpick will do. So this may have settled a little bit, so you just want to give it one more stir. And then slowly pour the syrup over the cake. Allow it to soak in. Fish out the lemon seed I missed. To get right to the edges. All right. Spoon and just make sure it gets right out to the sides of the cake. So all of that lemony rosewater goodness will permeate the whole cake. There we go. This should make it a really nice moist cake and give it lots and lots of flavor. Then to finish it, if you wanted to be super fancy, you could roll some of these in some luster dust, but because it's a very, very simple cake, I'm just going to add some pistachios on top. And on my way, I stopped and picked up some rose petals from the local florist just across the street. Shout out to the lovely people at Blooming Buds. And there you go. One Persian pistachio cake, good enough to eat.